discussing incoming student room selection. Specifically, I'll be outlining who is eligible for room selection, how the room selection sign-up process works online through the housing portal, and other applicable information such as roommate groups, a student's room selection window or schedule, which is pretty much the earliest time the student is eligible to go into the portal and choose their housing, booking their meal plan, and then searching for specialty living areas, specifically chemical-free housing. So to kick things off, I want to take a moment to discuss how we in housing determine who is eligible for room selection. To become eligible for room selection, students have to meet 3 pieces of criteria. The first one is that they have a 2025-2026 Barron Launch, freshman, or transfer student housing application that was submitted on or before May 1st, 2025. Students who submitted their housing application May 2nd or after are still eligible for on-campus housing. However, they will receive their assignments sometime in late June or early July after the room selection process has concluded. The second piece of criteria is that application still has to be active, meaning the student has not gone into their housing portal and canceled that application. The third piece of criteria is that the student must not already have a room assignment. There are a number of students that already have room assignments, and those are primarily students who, within their housing application, indicated an interest in a living learning community or indicated a preference for rooming with an incoming international student. Living learning communities, or LLCs, are housed on specific wings in specific buildings, so therefore if a student indicated a preference for one and were elected for that opportunity, our office manually assigns those students to those wings prior to room selection. So if the student has met all 3 of those criteria, they should qualify for room selection. They will know that they've qualified for room selection because in the first week in June, the student will receive an email to their UW-Eau Claire student email address with their room selection schedule. The email will look something like this. Within the email, it will say, "You have qualified for room selection and you can see your room selection schedule." You will be able to see the start date and time and the end date and time. Every single student will have the exact same end date and time, but every single student's start date and time might differ. What influences the start date and time is determined by the date your student submitted their housing application. The earlier the student submitted their housing application, which opened back on August 1st, 2024, the earlier they are eligible to go in and choose their housing. Now, if a student is in a roommate group, both students in the roommate group might get an email. However, they might have different start date and times. We encourage students, whichever student in the roommate group has the earliest start date and time, to be the one to go into the housing portal and actually choose the housing and pull in the roommate, which I'll show you how to do later in this video. We always encourage students to enter into their room selection process as close to their start and date and time as possible. They certainly can go after, but just know students will continue to enter the room selection process and choose their housing, meaning you'll have the most variety to choose from if you go in right when your window opens. Within the email, there will be a link which you can click to go directly into the room selection process, or as the student, if they would rather follow the path outlined within the email, they may do so. We do ask that students don't try accessing the room selection process prior to when their window opens, just because we don't want to overload the system. So, I will now demonstrate how the room selection process looks. When the student clicks the link or follows the path outlined within the email I just showed, it will take them to this page. You'll be able to see the room selection button as well as the room selection tutorial, which is this video right here. So to begin the room selection process, they click the room selection button. The first page the student lands on is just a brief overview. All this is saying is you are about to book your room for both the fall 2025 semester as well as the spring 2026 semester, and it will show what date those terms begin and end on. The next page shows the roommate group. So, as I said, in order to see your roommate listed here below, if you are in a roommate group, which is optional, in order for the roommate to be shown below, they have to meet all of the criteria listed above here. If you land on this page and you are in a roommate group and they are not showing up here, make sure that all of these criteria are applicable or they've met all the criteria. And if they have and they're still not showing up, please contact our office because we'd be happy to troubleshoot with you. 90% of the time, if a student is not showing up here, it's because they did not complete one of these 4 criterias. Most of the time, it's because they did not accept the invitation to the roommate group, and therefore they are not a member or the leader of the group. They are stuck, you or the student, your invited roommate is stuck in invited status, so that happens most frequently. If your roommate is showing up, you can just proceed to the next page. The next page is where students actually search for the room. There are instructions up top, and there's 2 different ways on how to do that. So if we scroll down a little bit, this is how you search for housing. You can do it in 2 different ways. You can either use these drill down arrows on the side here to pick the hall, and you can drill down to the specific floor and choose whichever room you would like. Or if this is a little overwhelming and you are specifically looking for a certain building, you can click this room type drop down and you'll be able to see all of the different residence halls that still have availability. If you are clicking this room type drop down, or you're looking under the available rooms by living area tab and you are not seeing a residence hall, this probably indicates that that residence hall is full and you will have to elect for a different building. Using the room type dropdown will be the best way to find those specialty living areas or chem-free living that I described earlier. If you are a student that wants chemical-free housing, there is a synopsis of what that is and what that entails. Using the room type dropdown will be the easiest way to find it. You just select the room type you're looking for, click search, and it will automatically filter to that room type. Because I am in a roommate group, you will be able to see that there's a big button that says lock for my group. You can choose, or you can definitely look around. Once you find a room that you like, you'll click the lock room for my group. And this is where the act of actually pulling in your roommate into room selection occurs. So you will be able to select one side of the room for yourself, and you will need to assign your roommate to the other half. Every single year, we get students on this page, and they forget to pull in their roommate, and they go through the whole room selection process, and then they left their friend behind because they did not book them into the other side of the room. Don't let that be you, and make sure that you assign yourself to one half of the room and the roommate to the other half of the room. Once you lock the room, at the bottom of the screen, there will be a 10-minute countdown timer. That means you have 10 minutes to complete the room selection process before the lock expires. While the room is locked, think of it as it being in your shopping cart, meaning that room is unavailable for other students who might be in the room selection process to close for themselves. If you do lock a room, but then you are like, I'm not sure, I want to go look at my other options, you can release the lock, but just know that when you're going back and you're browsing other rooms, that room that you just had locked and just released could be locked by another student. So beware of that, but you are certainly welcome to go through and look at all of your options. Like I said, utilizing the drill down arrows will be the most helpful if you're looking for a specific floor. So I'm going to, let's say I'm interested in a Governor's Hall room. I'm going to actually just sort it to Governor's Hall. I'm going to use the drill down arrow. I want to live on the 4th floor, so I'm going to select the 4th floor. This looks good, so I'm going to lock that. I'm going to assign myself to one half of the room and my roommate to the other half of the room, and click Next. A pop-up will show up saying, make sure that this is the room you want because this will be your room assignment. And then we do have a formal room change process that opens up in July, which all students will be receiving an email about after room selection concludes. However, after the room is booked, you or your roommate, if that's applicable, will not be permitted to go back into the room selection process to choose a different room. So be sure that the room you lock is the room that you want because you will not be afforded another opportunity to go in and restart the room selection process. I'm okay with this room assignment, so I'm going to click OK. The next page is where I select my meal plan. This is very important. All students are automatically defaulted to the Gold Flex meal plan during room selection. After you're done with this process, if you want to go out and choose a different meal plan, you may certainly do so online through the housing portal up until August 4th. However, during room selection, you'll only have the Gold Flex meal plan to choose from. Whoever is booking the room will be the one to sign both themselves and their roommate up for the Gold Flex meal plan by clicking the Add button, clicking the Gold Flex plan, and clicking Select. They will need to do that for all roommates. And you'll be able to see which roommate that is because the name will be on this blue header right here. If you are not in a roommate group, you will just be choosing a meal plan for yourself. After I'm done here, I'll show you what room selection looks like when you're not in a roommate group because there are a few things that are just a little bit different. You can see down at the bottom, my 10-minute countdown timer will continue to decrease as I finish this process. This page just goes over the cancellation policy, and we do have it linked there if you'd like to take some additional time to review that. But again, that countdown timer starts at 10 minutes and will continue to decrease until you officially book your room. This last page is also a page where students get hung up on every year. They reach this page and they think that it's done. Really, all this is an overview page. It's saying you're about to make the following bookings for yourself and your roommate group if that's applicable. You'll be able to see what building you've chosen, your room number, and what terms that's for, so both the fall term and the spring term. And you'll also be able to see your roommate's information here as well. It is very important you go all the way to the bottom and click Book My Room by the time the lock expires to officially book it. You will know that your room selection process was had successfully gone through because both you and your roommate will receive a confirmation email with all of these details. I'm very happy with this room I've chosen, so I'm going to go all the way to the bottom and click Book My Room. So I'll see this was completed, and I should be getting an email confirmation, as will my roommate, saying you have successfully completed room selection, and it'll provide all those details. Like I said, during the room selection process, students only have one meal plan option, and that's the Gold Flex option. You are able to change your meal plan if you would like to. Transfer students, specifically, there are certain residence halls that do not require a meal plan. Those include Aspenson-Mogensen Hall, Chancellor's Hall, Haymarket Landing, and Priory Hall. During room selection, if you selected any of those 4 halls, you, through room selection, were defaulted to the Gold Flex plan, but since those are meal plan optional buildings, if you would like to opt out of a meal plan, you will need to go to the Change My Meal Plan button, and then within that process, you can elect for no meal plan. Incoming Barron Launch and freshman students are only eligible to live in residence halls that do require a meal plan. However, you can change it from Gold Flex to either the Blue Meal Plan or the Loyalty Dining Dollars if you choose to. You can manage your meal plan through the housing portal up until August 4th. So, as I mentioned, I want to quickly show what the room selection process looks like as an individual, meaning that you are not in a roommate group. So I do have a test student to show you what that looks like. So again, I qualified for room selection. I'm going to get that email the first week in June saying, hey, you're eligible for room selection, and it provides me my schedule. When my start date and time begins, I can click that link or I can follow that path, which is by going to Submit and Manage Your Applications, Manage 25-26. And then down at the bottom, we'll be able to see the room selection button. That brings you to that landing page that I began the video at. You'll be able to see the room selection button and then the room selection tutorial. So this test student specifically is not in a roommate group. The first page is the same for everyone. It shows you what terms you're booking. Now on the roommate group page, you will not see anyone is listed under the roommate group, and it's because the student opted to not to create a roommate group. How to search for a room is exactly the same. You can utilize the drill down arrows to find your building, or you can search for a specific building and room type here. Now, since this student is not in a roommate group, the room selection process will show you not only completely open rooms, which is identified by showing that there are 2 spaces available. It will also show rooms there might be students that are already assigned to, which you can see it shows that there is 1 space available. If you're in a roommate group of 2 people, the system won't show you any of these half-occupied rooms because the system knows you're in a roommate group and they're like, okay, I'm looking for a space that can accommodate 2 people total. But when you're in a roommate group, when you're not in a roommate group, it will show you half-occupied rooms. You will also notice that there's not the giant lock for my group button. Instead, to lock a room, you will have to utilize these drill down arrows next to the room number, and then you will see this little lock icon. If you click that lock icon, that is what locks the room for you. We always encourage students who are not in roommate groups to take the power into their own hands and explore the options of the half-occupied rooms. This is because if you click this drill down arrow, you will be able to see which student is located or assigned to the other half of the room. If you click that student's name, you will be able to see some information about them, including their categorization. Are they an incoming new student or are they a returning student? And then you will also be able to see how they answered those roommate matching questions to see if they would be a good fit. If you opt for a completely open room, that is fine. Just know you will have no control over who is assigned with you after you complete the room selection process. So that's why we always encourage students to look at those half-occupied rooms first, so you can see how those other students answered those roommate questionnaires to see if you will be a good fit. I've determined that Housing 73 is a really great fit for me, so I'm going to click this little lock icon to lock that space. Since I am not in a roommate group, by default, my name will be in the space that is left. There is no act of pulling in a roommate because I am not in a roommate group. I also have 10 minutes to go all the way to the end and complete that booking. I will still get that pop-up saying make sure this is the assignment you're happy with because it will be your assignment, and I am, so I'm just going to click OK. Here's where I will book my meal plan. Again, all students are defaulted to the Gold Flex, and that's the only option I will have to choose from during room selection. I'm going to click Next. Again, it provides cancellation policy information, and then the overview page shows what I am booking for myself. Again, I have to go all the way through to the end and click Book My Room before my timer runs out in order to secure that bed space. I'm going to click Book My Room, and again, if I choose, I can go in and choose my meal plan to a different meal plan if I'm not satisfied with the Gold Flex option. Again, I have until August 4th to change my meal plan. I do want to hit on roommate groups in a little bit more depth. So, in order for a roommate group to be successful, students have to both have either a status of leader or a status of member. When it comes to leader-member status, that really there is really no difference who chooses the room. So the member of the roommate group might have submitted their housing application back in October of 2024, but the leader of the roommate group might have submitted their housing contract or housing application in March of 2025. Therefore, the member of the group might have an earlier start time than the leader of the group, and that's totally okay for the member of the roommate group to be the one to choose the room and then pull in the leader during room selection. The leader member status really only is used to determine that the roommate group has successfully been formed. I know that is a frequently asked question, so I did want to quickly hit on that before the tutorial is over. That pretty much covers the majority of the information when it comes to incoming student room selection. Should you have any questions, you can reach out to our office at housing@uwec.edu or by phone, which is listed on our website. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and we'd be happy to chat about this process in more depth should you have additional questions.